This yacht cost more than $600 million. It has its own missile defense system, 2 helicopter pads, and a submarine hidden in its hull. Beat. But we're not starting there. We're starting with a boat you could rent for the price of a hotel room. Today we're ranking the yachting world from the boat a normal person can actually afford to rent, all the way up to the floating palace that costs more than most companies are worth. And level 5 is where things stop making sense. That's the point where yacht stops meaning boat and starts meaning small nation's navy. Stick around, because level 6 has a detail about its swimming pool that most people don't believe the first time they hear it. Let's go level by level. Level 1, around $2,000 per day. Level 1 is an ownership. It's a day charter. For about $2,000 a day, split between a group, you can rent a 40 to 50-foot motor yacht with a captain and a crew of 1 or 2. You get a sun deck, a small cabin, maybe a jet ski. This is the entry point most people never think exists. You don't need to be rich to stand on a yacht deck for an afternoon. You need about the price of a nice hotel suite, split 5 or 6 ways. Most day charter operators also rent by the week for a fraction of what you'd expect. A week-long charter on a boat this size can run $10,000 to $15,000 total, all in, which starts to look almost reasonable compared to what's coming. Level 2, around $3 to $5 million. Level 2 is your first real ownership tier, an 80 to 100-foot yacht, new or lightly used, running $3 to $5 million. This is the size where you get actual staterooms, a real galley, and enough deck space for a real party. Here's the number that surprises people. The purchase price isn't the real cost. Running a yacht this size costs roughly 10% of its value every single year. Crew, fuel, dockage, maintenance. A $5 million yacht costs $500,000 a year just to keep floating. That's before you've taken it anywhere. Insurance alone on a yacht this size typically runs 1 to 1.5% of the vessel's value annually. So tack on another $50,000 to $75,000 a year just so it's covered if something goes wrong. Level 3, around $15 to $25 million. At level 3, you're in 130 to 150-foot territory, the size where a yacht starts needing a permanent crew of 6 to 8 people living aboard year-round. This is the tier where features like a beach club, a fold-out platform at the stern that turns into a private swim deck, start becoming standard. Quick guess before we go further. How much do you think it costs to just paint a yacht this size? The answer is often over $1 million for paint. Superyacht paint jobs use specialized marine coatings applied in climate-controlled sheds, and a full repaint is typically needed every 7 to 10 years. Level 4, around $60 to $90 million. Level 4 is where yachts cross 200 feet and start being tracked and photographed by yacht spotting communities the way people track celebrity jets. At this size, you're looking at multiple decks, a dedicated cinema room, and often a helicopter landing pad. This is also roughly the size threshold where a yacht needs its own dedicated support vessel, a second, smaller boat, sometimes called a shadow yacht, that just carries the jet skis, extra fuel, and gear the main yacht doesn't have room for. Some owners even use their shadow vessel to carry a second helicopter, so the main yacht's pad stays free. Level 5, around $200 to $250 million. This is the level where things stop making intuitive sense. We're talking yachts around 300 to 350 feet, longer than a football field, with permanent crews of 40 to 60 people. At this size, a yacht typically has its own onboard hospital-grade medical bay, multiple pools, and enough fuel capacity to cross an ocean without stopping. Let that sink in. Crew of 60. That's not a boat. That's a small company that happens to float. And every one of those crew members needs a cabin, which is part of why yachts at this size can take 3 to 5 years to build from the day the contract is signed. Level 6, around $400 to $500 million. Level 6 belongs to a small handful of yachts in the world, vessels like Dilbar, at over 500 feet, reportedly built with a swimming pool so large it required its own reinforced structural support. At this tier, yachts often carry 2 helicopters, submarines for underwater exploration, and enough onboard systems that they're essentially small self-sufficient ships rather than pleasure craft. Fewer than 20 yachts on Earth are believed to sit at this level, and the shipyards capable of building them are just as rare. There are only a handful of yards worldwide with the dry docks large enough to construct a vessel this size at all. Level 7, $600 million plus. And that brings us to Azam, widely reported as the longest private yacht in the world, at 590 feet, with a rumored cost north of $600 million. Azam is longer than the ships some navies use for their flagship vessels. It reportedly needs a crew of over 60, and its sheer length required custom engine technology just to reach the speeds it does. Azam is reportedly capable of speeds that most vessels its size can't touch, because standard engines couldn't move that much hull fast enough. Here's a way to picture it. Azam is longer than an American football field plus its own end zones. Put it next to the Level 1 charter boat from the start of this video, and the Level 1 boat would fit inside it more than 10 times over. At this level, yacht is genuinely the wrong word. It's a private ship built for one owner, with a budget most countries would recognize as a defense line item. The maintenance reality check before we close this out. Here's the number that ties every level together. Across almost all of these tiers, annual running costs land somewhere around 10% of the yacht's purchase price. That means the Level 2 owner is paying roughly $500,000 a year. The Level 5 owner is paying somewhere around $20 to $25 million a year before they've taken a single trip. At Level 7, that 10% rule would put annual costs above $60 million a year, which is part of why so few yachts ever reach that size. Very few budgets in the world can sustain it. So that's the gap, from a $2,000 day charter to a $600 million private ship, and the running costs that come with each level. If you want to see where private jets fall on this same scale, that's exactly what I'm covering next. Subscribe so you don't miss Level 7 on that one either.